Good morning, President Marisa Choueireb, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, apologies. And thank you for coming to the Malta Chamber to participate in this event, where we will be focusing on the future skills and AI in Europe. Before moving towards the Transform Work project and this event, we would like to highlight something we're doing on another project, the Digital Skills for AI Revolution. Basically, this project we are working on is going to put together a course whereby any participant here and anyone in Europe can actually go through this course, attend this course online. We're actually using AI to deliver this course, and you can do it for free. It is funded by the Erasmus Plus project, and it will be made available in the beginning of July. So we really would like you to keep this name in mind, DS for Air, and please follow us at the Malta Chamber to know more about it as well. So what we're doing here is essentially helping industry and our employees as well to embark on the digital transformation. Okay, so we really encourage you to log in and get involved. ds4air.com. Thank you very much. Now, on to today's event. This is a Transform Work project event, which is co-financed by the European Commission's EU Social Dialogue Programme. It brings together social partners to discuss the digital transformation in the world of work. These are new dimensions of social dialogue deriving from the Autonomous Framework Agreement on Digitalization. This conference is being held by the Malta Chamber in collaboration with the Malta Business Bureau and in association with the General Workers' Union. So we will be kicking off by an introduction by our President of the Malta Chamber, Ms. Marisa Choueireb. Then we will have 2 video messages by the Deputy General Secretary of the European Trade Union Confederation, another video message by Business Europe. Then we will have the project coordinator of the Transform Work project, Ms. Ina Atanasova, from the Confederation of Independent Trade Unions in Bulgaria, Ms. Linda Larsen from the Swedish Trade Union Confederation, and then we will have a best practice as well from Romania by Ms. Adelina Dabu from Concordia, Romania. We will also explore the main trends and preliminary conclusions from the first stage of the research in partner countries, and we will have an overview from the Bulgarian Independent Trade Union by Maria Mincheva, Vice President, apologies. And then we will move on to a coffee break, where we'll network just for a few minutes. We will then have a presentation by Dr. Rosemary Azzopardi, an economist in Malta, who is currently working with Professor Alexei Dingli, who will join us very soon, on forecasting future skills and human capital in Malta. Then it will be followed by a panel discussion. We will have various people from industry to discuss and social partners. And then we will move on to a conversation on AI at the workplace. So we will have a presentation by Professor Alexei Dingli in this regard, followed by a panel discussion. We will then have some concluding remarks by the chairperson from the Malta Business Bureau. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the President of the Malta Chamber, Ms. Marisa Choueireb. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is our pleasure to welcome you here at the Malta Chamber of Commerce, Enterprise and Industry, Malta's national business chamber that has a proud history of 175 years, throughout which it has consistently spearheaded the transformation of business and employment to improve economic competitiveness, prosperity, and social cohesion. The digital transformation of work started a couple of decades ago, but accelerated rapidly during the last couple of years when the COVID pandemic necessitated a quick rethink of core operations for businesses to survive. The good thing about this is that significant investment in digitalization was mobilized much quicker than would have been the case under normal circumstances. The downside of it is that there was not much time to think. There was even less time to train people, and social distancing provided for suboptimal conditions under which to engage employees in the process of identifying, implementing, and evaluating digital solutions. Maybe the most glaring example of this is what happened in education. Virtually overnight, teachers and students found themselves out of the classroom, sitting behind a screen, doing their lessons without much engagement in most cases. Suddenly, there was a lot more digital in teaching and learning, but the transformation did not really happen. New technologies were used to teach old stuff, and the result was not exactly great. In other workplaces where the day-to-day tasks could be performed over a laptop, employees started working from home again overnight. In most cases, nothing much changed in terms of workflow or reporting lines. It was very much a matter of everyone doing the same things from home with much less engagement with co-workers. In many cases, this resulted in less communication, more alienation, less efficiency, and longer working hours. Many employees like the convenience of being able to work from home, particularly because no one enjoys the commute to and from work in congested roads, and no one enjoys the hassle of parking. Yet, many employees were eager to return to office for at least a couple of days a week as soon as it was possible to do so, and most employers found this to be imperative in order to restore productivity and realign employees to their corporate goals. Most of what happened during the past 2 years in the world of work was digital, but not very transformative beyond being able to work from home for a couple of days a week. The realities employers are facing now are far more complex than the pandemic was. The pandemic did not allow for too many options. Health authorities dictated business operations to an unprecedented degree. Now, there are no such restrictions, but there are some very tough decisions for businesses to make on a daily basis. Input costs are rising every day, consumers are becoming more cautious about their spending, and productive human resources are running shorter by the minute. Under such conditions, those businesses that want to survive and thrive will have to take really transformative decisions. Most of these decisions will have a significant digital component, but real transformation will require much broader considerations than simply spending money on technology. Real transformation is likely to involve a much higher degree of subcontracting and outsourcing, even to other countries, given the greater digitalization of processes that enables this. It will also involve a higher degree of automation that will go beyond mechanical processing that we are used to seeing in manufacturing lines. The future of automation will be more data-driven and prevalent in services such as banking, retail and distribution, hospitality, and customer support. These are industries that have traditionally been very labor-intensive, with a substantial portion of their workforce having low to medium-level skills. While many businesses operating in these industries today complain of a shortage of workers and struggle to find enough human resources to operate sustainably, every investment decision that they make going forward is likely to have a substantial digital component and to be driven by higher productivity targets. Their headcount per unit of output is likely to decrease over time, and the type of skill sets they will be looking for in future will be very different. It is therefore imperative for the social partners to prioritize upskilling and reskilling of workers to facilitate the transition of human resources into jobs requiring different skill sets. The shortages of human resources that we are experiencing now are, in the greater part, transitory in nature. They will persist for as long as businesses remain cautious in their pursuit of truly transformative investment decisions, which, given the current global landscape, could mean several years because of all the uncertainty. While they do persist, they are resulting in a higher rate of labor turnover than is desirable at a time when investment in training needs to increase considerably to improve long-term prosperity. Against this backdrop, I believe that among the key questions that we need to answer as social partners is how do we incentivize businesses to invest more in the training of their employees, and how do we incentivize employees to be eager to upskill themselves and to cooperate with their employers in this process, which may require commitment to the same workplace for a longer period than is currently the average retention period. To put it simply, how do we get people to stay long enough in the same employment to be able to learn something truly meaningful through that employment? The next important question is, how do we ensure that the required transformation of our businesses and workplaces, including the digital aspect of it, provides for higher quality jobs, more satisfactory alternative methods of engagement for those who are eager to move out of employment and into self-employment as subcontractors, and healthier employer-employee-customer relations that are necessary for personal enrichment and a truly authentic work-life harmony. I find that work-life harmony articulates better what we mean when we say work-life balance. Work and life should not stand on opposite sides of our existential equation. Work is an important and rewarding part of life, and it is therefore work-life harmony that we should aspire to. I thank you all, and I wish our international guests an inspiring couple of days of work-life harmony here in Malta. Thank you.
And now we're going to have two video messages, one from the European Trade Union Confederation and another from Business Europe. So thank you for following. Thank you.
Social dialogue takes courage, but it's worth it. And importantly, if you're going to manage change, it's absolutely essential. That's why at European level, we've negotiated this important digitalisation agreement. I know from when I was negotiating change, there were three things workers wanted to know. How will the change affect them? Will they be safe? And importantly, this agreement says, in the transition, training is guaranteed and job design. It's not about letting people go. It's not about having change built on making workers redundant. It's about including the workforce in a positive way. The second thing workers would know is how will I benefit? And importantly, in the agreement, we point to that as well, about the importance of sharing the benefits of the change. Higher productivity should translate into higher wages. And thirdly, the biggest question workers always have whenever I was negotiating is, why should I trust you to negotiate for me? And that's the important thing in this agreement, that trust is built only when information is shared, when there's a clear plan, when there's investment to deliver that plan, and importantly, when workers and their unions are properly involved. So colleagues, courage for change, negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. And we really hope that our digitalisation agreement helps. You're going to hear more about it now from my colleagues.
The most recent agreement by the European social partners is our framework agreement on digitalisation. This was concluded in June 2020, and it comes out of our joint work programme, which provides a roadmap for us as European social partners. So this agreement represents our contribution to addressing digitalisation within the workplace, and it has as its aims, first of all, to raise awareness of the issues and problems and opportunities around digitalisation within workplaces across Europe. But it has a core aim of providing actions and an action-oriented approach to addressing digitalisation. It seeks to encourage a partnership approach. And the scope of this agreement is indeed to cover all workers and employers in public and private sectors, but importantly also those workers engaged in the platform economy.
So this agreement on digitalization is a blueprint for negotiators at all levels, at national level, sectoral level, company level. And to implement this agreement, we have put in the text, which is totally innovative, a new method that we call the partnership process. This partnership process is there to help negotiators to focus on, first of all, key topics, but not only, on key steps for the negotiation, starting with the analysis, the mapping of the situation, understanding the challenges of possible situations, and then once we have a good analysis, we can implement measures, and of course at the end, evaluate the effectiveness of these measures. So this innovative process will cover 4 different key topics that we jointly identified with the employers: digital skills and securing employment, modalities of connecting and disconnecting, artificial intelligence and guaranteeing human in control principle, and the respect of human dignity and surveillance.
The first key topic which we jointly identified to address with measures as part of the agreement on digitalisation is digital skills and securing employment. We saw that these 2 issues go together quite well, and the types of measures that we envisage in this area is the commitment to upskilling and reskilling, a focus on quality and effective training, training that's linked to the job profile should be paid by the employers, as well as issues surrounding job security, such as the redesign of jobs to allow workers to remain within the enterprise in the new role, as well as equal opportunities to ensure that digital technology results benefits all workers.
The second key priority of this agreement is the modalities of connecting and disconnecting. By the modalities of connecting, we mean skills, we mean how to develop competencies, we mean training. And by this, of course, we have to evaluate what are the needs of the workforce and how to reply to that. And of course, it is linked to the consequences of the digitalization environment, which is constantly developing. The other key topic here in this priority is, of course, the modalities of disconnecting. And on this, we have 3 important things to say. The first one is, when we talk about disconnecting, we have to respect the working time rules in collective agreements, in contracts, and in the legislation, of course. The other very important thing that we say in this agreement is that for any additional out of hours contacting of workers by employer, the worker is not obliged to be contactable. And the last thing, for extra hours, extra time worked, then the worker will deserve a compensation.
So the third key topic that we've identified as part of the agreement to address through measures is artificial intelligence and guaranteeing the human in control principle. The AI is having a massive impact across workplaces on the working lives of workers across Europe. And within this agreement, we have sought to discuss trustworthy AI. And by trustworthy AI, we mean lawful, fair, transparent, safe AI, which allows for ethical standards and ensuring adherence to fundamental human rights, as well as that is robust and sustainable. In order to achieve this, we've identified that measures to be developed should follow the human in control principle, and that the unintentional harm that can come out of AI should be addressed through transparent and effective oversight, and in particular where AI is used in human resource processes such as hiring, such as promotion, such as firing of workers, that there needs to be that human in control principle respected through oversight, through a contestable result, and through a human decision-making process at the end and behind these AI decisions.
Last priority of this agreement, the respect of human dignity and surveillance. The respect of human dignity is key in this agreement, and I would even add the human in control principle, which is a transversal principle that we want to promote in this agreement. Let's focus on the 3 measures that we propose here. First of all, this agreement enables trade unions to address the issue of data, consent, privacy protection, and surveillance. Second key measure, to always link the collection of data to a concrete and transparent purpose. We can't collect data if there are no reasons for that. No, we don't want this, and this is what we say in the agreement. And last but not least, we want to provide trade unions with facilities and tools, digital notice board, to fulfill their duties in digital area. Once an agreement is signed, then we need to implement it, and that's a key step in the process. That's why, jointly, together with the employers, we decided to develop an innovative approach this time with an online tool. And this online tool will help you to share your experiences at all levels, to learn from the others, and also to share your own experiences. In the ETUC, we also develop our own tools for our affiliates, an interpretation guide, as well as a checklist to follow the implementation of the agreement, as well as dedicated training on the content of the agreement that we do in partnership with our institute.
So the implementation of these autonomous framework agreements, such as the agreement on digitalisation, is in the hands of the national social partners. So it's in your hands to follow up and to implement this report in how you see fit at national level. However, we've noticed, having feedback from you, we've noticed as European social partners that there are obstacles and problems in the implementation of these agreements that you may face. Sometimes it's linked to the specific content of the agreement, and sometimes it's linked to social dialogue institutions and framework at your own national level. In view of these issues, we decided to come together as European social partners to set up a subgroup of the Social Dialogue Committee to look at the problems surrounding implementation of these agreements at national level, in order to be able to provide you with the support and whatever guidance and help that we can as European social partners to help and promote the full implementation of these agreements. The European social partners have set up a resource centre website with all the different outcomes of European social dialogue available to you. On the ETUC Resource Centre, for example, we have a list of all the different agreements that we've concluded alongside our interpretation guides, which the ETUC develops for its members to promote and to support them in the implementation of the agreements at national level. In addition to this resource centre websites, we also have a joint translation fund that we manage together as European social partners. And the idea behind this fund is to provide you with the resources and the funding that's needed to ensure that the very first step of implementation of these autonomous framework agreements takes place, which is the translation into your own national languages. So the idea is that you can use this fund, you can apply to us, and then we will find a way and support you in providing a translation of these agreements.
Well, this is a pleasure to be with you today as you are having an event where you're going to discuss the important agreement on digitalization that we have reached as cross-industry European social partners in 2020. And first, perhaps to highlight that your kind of projects that you're doing with several federations involving both sides of industry, and making sure that the activities on a national level are going to be positively implementing and leading to social partners awareness, creating the right conditions for some measures to be put in place in your countries when it comes to the implementation of this agreement is very welcome. So I'd like to congratulate you for coming forward with this project, and also to encourage you to work well together in terms of sharing your practices as different countries' social partners. But having in mind, of course, that we are here on an issue that is very central to our labour market. So I'd like to give a bit of explanation of the relevance of this agreement, but also to put it a bit in the picture of where we are now, because of course this agreement came in 2020. We are in the second year of implementation of the agreement, of a process that will be for up to 4 years, as you know, and of course the situation has evolved, and we are also, as European social partners, engaging in our own activities that I would like to briefly describe. But first, perhaps to come at the first part of this intervention, what was the relevance of this agreement? So digitalization, it was an agreement that was negotiated as an autonomous agreement. It was part of our work program as European Cross-Industry Social Partners. And it's an important agreement because you know that there are different ways of looking at the issue of digitalization. And of course, we recognized on both sides that there are opportunities and challenges. But I think overall, the nature of this agreement and its content are really with a view to manage in a good way the transition to digital when it comes to the impacts and the effects on the labor markets and on the workforce. And so the fact that we have this process-driven agreement that is really stemming from social partners at different levels, looking at the issue in their own collective bargaining and in their own cooperation, from the enterprise level to the sectoral level to the national level, and being able to understand what are the challenges, what are the changes that are happening on the labor market in terms of the jobs, the way they are, the skills that are required by the jobs, and how to effectively deal with those changing nature of jobs and skills so that we have the right solutions to ensure that people work in good conditions and that there is the support for this transition, for the changes that are brought by the use of technology in the workplace, both by the companies, their management, but also by the workers who are, of course, through the work activities playing a key role for our companies to make this transition right, to be at the same time competitive, productive, but also, of course, do the work in good working conditions. So I think it was a quite important agreement. Of course, when we're speaking about digitalization, from our perspective as employers, digital skills is a particularly important question. And I think there is a rather strong focus on this in the agreement. It is about equipping people with the skills that are in demand on our labor markets. And of course, this transition to digital means that more and more we need across the workforce to have the basic digital skills. So that all employees are able to use the technology that is user-friendly for them, but at the same time really helping them to perform their tasks in a good way. Of course, using the internet, having different ways of communicating and using the devices that are brought into the workplace by the employers is something very important so that there is a good outcome. And if possible, of course, improve the productivity of how we work, ensuring as well that there may be improvements in terms of health and safety at work, making sure that the technology can help removing some of the tasks that were before done by humans, but that can be done in a better way by the use of technology or of machines. So this is, of course, providing some benefits also for the workforce. But it is also, of course, ensuring that we do things in a way that is secure and that is well organized and that is also with the right level of understanding between the management and the workforce. And that, I think, is also well covered in the agreement. We have, for example, agreed in this agreement on modalities for connecting and disconnecting, which is a very important issue that has been topical over the last year. And on this, as you may know, I think very importantly, in the upcoming work program of the European Social Partners for 2022-2024, we have agreed to come to the issue in the form of a binding agreement. And so, of course, the link between the digitalization agreement of 2020 is very important because we've got these modalities that was already an agreement between us as the cross-industry social partners on the European level. And also, of course, all the issues relating to surveillance were also addressed in our agreement in 2020. I think having a climate of trust, ensuring that the way we work and we cooperate on the workplace is based on having the right trust and confidence that things and the organization of work, which is the main responsibility of employers, is going to be in a good way respecting the need for sure that the workforce would have some time off. And of course on this you need first to have this climate of trust, which is the basis of a good management and cooperation with the employees. But how to put that in practice, of course, may differ depending on different tasks, different jobs. And of course, working time rules will always need to be respected. So all that applies to an employment contract, the company rules, the collective agreements, and of course the working time rules will always need to be respected. But on top of it, of course, it's important that there is the right understanding on both sides, that it is not about having out-of-hours contacts, but of course it may happen in practice, and this is establishing a good understanding between management and labor, how to do that in different circumstances, and also having in mind different needs of different jobs. So yeah, a very important agreement. We are now in the second year of implementation, and perhaps to just stress in particular that we are in this period where now we have had a number of crises, of course, COVID crisis. By the way, I think the last negotiation round of this agreement in 2020 was right before the lockdowns started in March 2020. So we were just able to conclude it in time before all this was triggered by the sanitary crisis and the pandemic. And I think, of course, since then, we had all this focus on short-time work in the first periods, and now more recently, the other crises that came at our borders with the war in Ukraine and all the impact this had on supply chains for companies, the implications also, of course, in terms of inflation that are creating a big challenge on the labor markets as well, notably in terms of wages. But this is also, of course, about the shortages of labor and skills. And here the link with digitalization, I think, is very important, because there we had a structural need in Europe, and tended in the last years to already have a shortage before the COVID crisis kicked in, which has been now even a bit exacerbated probably by the fact that some people left the labor market, and now it's very important, of course, to ensure that as many of the available workforce are going to be in work. Very important in terms of the demographic situation of our continent. But it's also about, of course, the choices of education and training, and ensuring that people have relevant skills. So trying to reduce this structural skills mismatch is particularly important for digital, because there we have for quite many years a shortage of engineers, for example, but also the fact that these skills, they need to be complementary. I mean, the hard skills of an engineer more and more need to be combined with good skills on the IT side, advanced IT skills. The same when it comes to more commercial jobs, being able to at the same time come with the IT solutions that are going to be able to reach to the customers, together with the commercial profile of persons active in the companies in these fields. We see also, of course, that a lot of jobs are changing when, for example, the transportation systems are evolving, and that people who are working in those transportation systems are required to have different tasks. The role of drivers may be evolving. So all this is important change. And this digitalization agreement is about working together between the employers and the workers at different levels of collective bargaining and social dialogue, respecting, of course, the national practices in terms of industrial relations, but doing it with a good purpose of trying to make this transition, have it in a good way for both sides of industry, enterprises and workers, and of course also keeping in mind that countries may learn from each other. And so your project is particularly welcome from that perspective. I wish you to have a good seminar and a good meeting, and that this would pave the way for good progress over the coming 2 years during the implementation of your Transform Work project. I, of course, invite you to let us know about the progress you make through your project activities, through the survey, the findings that you're going to have. And we will regularly take stock, of course, of the progress in the context of the European Social Dialogue Committee. We are just, by the way, in the process of putting together the second implementation table for this agreement together with the ETUC. So also from that perspective, your meeting and your interaction is in a timely way connected to our reporting on the implementation of the agreement. Perhaps to conclude, when it comes to the kind of projects that you are doing, for us as European social partners, it will be also a priority in the coming years to be of support to the actions taken on a national level to implement the agreement. You may have heard that we have the idea to work through a project of the European cross-industry social partners on a web tool that would be aiming to support the implementation by helping the national social partners to make more visible what they do and to connect well through as user-friendly as possible tool that would be deriving from our project and cooperation between the European cross-industry social partners. So this is something we will be keeping you informed about. And for now, I wish you a very good meeting, seminar, and looking forward to the next steps of our cooperation, and happy to have been here with you today, even though virtually, because it was not possible to fly and to be in person with you in Malta. But I really hope that you have a good exchange and that your project and the cooperation between all those involved is going to bear fruit. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you to ETUC and Business Europe, who very kindly sent us the video message. And now we're going on to a more dynamic intervention by Ina Atanasova, who is the project manager of the Transform Work project and is also part of the Confederation of Independent Trade Unions in Bulgaria. So Ina, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Diana. Before presenting our project Transform Work, I would like to thank the team of the Malta Chamber and Malta Business Bureau, especially Daniel De Bono, Mr. Joe Tanti, Diana and Cynthia for their hard work and efforts for organizing our second European Roundtable. This is actually the first event in the framework of the project Transform Work where we meet face to face. So it's really exciting because already we are in the 14th month of the project, and I think now you'll see from what I'm going to present, and later on my colleague Maria Mincheva from the Bulgarian Industrial Association, that we have achieved a lot and hopefully will continue in this direction. So the project Social Partners Together for Digital Transformation of the World of Work, New Dimensions of Social Dialogue deriving from the Autonomous Framework Agreement on Digitalization, is promoted by the Confederation of Independent Trade Unions in Bulgaria, jointly with the Bulgarian Industrial Association, and it is focused upon the implementation on the framework agreement in 7 EU member states, namely Bulgaria, Cyprus, Estonia, Ireland, Malta, and 2 associated partners, Romania and Sweden, aiming to explore the impact of digitalization on social dialogue at national level. Okay? Is it okay? No? and to explore a number of good practice examples in the partner countries related to the existing initiatives, practices and collective agreements in the context of the digital transformation of the world of work. The project seeks also to raise awareness of how, with the implementation of right strategies, the digital transformation could bring clear benefits and added value for employers and workers by providing new labor market opportunities, new ways of organizing work and improvement in working conditions. And the project Transform Work also aims to support the implementation of framework agreement on digitalization as a prerequisite to the anticipated change that comes with digital transformation. The delivery of skills needed for workers and enterprises to succeed, to support the creation of new approaches at national level to adapt labor markets, provide essential education and training to enhance the role of social partners by ensuring that the framework conditions allow and support employers and workers to benefit from the opportunities and to assist them in finding solutions, appropriate solutions to deal with the challenges. We have a big project consortium and we have the following co-beneficiaries: the Bulgarian Industrial Association, the Estonian Employers Confederation, they're today also here with us, the Malta Chamber of Commerce, Enterprise and Industry, the Cyprus Workers Confederation, SEC, they're also here with us today during the roundtable, the Cyprus Employers and Industrialists Federation, who are also present today, and Services Industrial Professional and Technical Union from Ireland. We have in here Kevin Pio-Kelly, who is representing them in the project and in the event today. As you saw maybe from the presentations, from the recorded videos, Business Europe and the European Trade Union Confederation are both on board, which is great, which gives a big added value to our project. And we have, as I told you, Romania as an associated organization. This is the Concordia Employers Confederation. The colleagues from Romania are also attending the event today, and Irish Business and Employers Confederation, IBEC, who are also present at our roundtable. Swedish Trade Union Confederation, LO Sweden, hopefully they will join us for a presentation of the good practices in Sweden related to the implementation of the framework agreement. We have also on board the Confederation of Swedish Enterprise and General Workers Union Malta, and as an affiliated entity is Malta Business Bureau. So quite a huge consortium covering big range of Europe, and as you see, a really good balanced presentation of employers and trade unions, which is great because actually even when I counted them, the employers organizations are more than the trade unions, which usually is not the case in the project under this budget heading. Shortly, what are the aims of the project? The aims are to study the national context, existing strategies and methodologies related to the implementation of the framework agreement, and the challenges faced by the social dialogue deriving from the digital transformation of the world of work. to make a comparative analysis of the trends in the partner countries. This is something which Maria Mincheva will tell you later on. To raise awareness of the European autonomous social dialogue outcomes and to improve understanding of employers, workers and their representatives of the opportunities and challenges. And within the context of the framework agreement, to exchange experience and good practice examples and the role of the social partners, the social dialogue in this process, to develop catalog of good practices, to organize discussions and exchange of experience between workers and employers' representatives, to promote good practices and positive outcomes on the digital transformation of the world of work, and to explore the necessities for amendment of the existing national legal frameworks in order to enhance the implementation of the framework agreement and to make suggestions to the relevant authorities. So I will not go through the expected results, I will go through what we have achieved so far with regard to the implementation of the project. So we have divided the project into 8 work packages, and the first work package was dedicated to establishment of process and practice for successful project management. So far, as I told you, all our meetings so far have been online. So we have 4 steering committee meetings and 3 meetings of the project research team. These are the dates of the project meetings. On work package 2, which is dedicated to study and analysis, we developed 2 analytic frameworks for the first, second and third stage of the research. We have developed 3 questionnaires for the second stage of the research. Maybe some of you have already filled in those questionnaires. We have completed the first stage of the research, the desk research, and the second stage, the empirical study, but still we have not documented the results of the empirical studies. This is on the way. And we have developed on work package 3 5 national reports on the desk research. And as I said, the empirical research is just on the way. We had under work package 4 the organization of national info days in the 5 countries of the project so far. There were 2 national info days in Estonia. They were done in December 2021 and January 22. In Bulgaria, we had a big and very successful National Info Day on 15 February 22, and Malta organized the National Info Day on 8th of April 2022, and we had Bulgaria and obviously Estonia. What I see from the photos, we had face-to-face. This is the second European Roundtable. The first European Roundtable was organized and hosted by the Estonian Employers Confederation on the 3rd of December 2021. It was a hybrid event. By hybrid, I mean that in Bulgaria and Cyprus, we followed it face-to-face, but actually it was mainly online. We have a website of the project. Outside you can find those leaflets in English. So there is the website of the project, and I encourage you to go into that website because we are trying to publish interesting documents, all the study documents in the framework of the project, So you can really have one of those leaflets and visit our website, and we'll be more than happy to welcome you on our next events. Our next third roundtable will be organized in Dublin by SIPTU. It would be in October, and hopefully we can see some of you during this third roundtable. Again, the balance is in favor of the employers, because so far the two roundtables were organized by the employers' organizations. Now we'll have SIPTU as a trade union to organize, of course, jointly with IBEC, this event in Dublin. And of course, we'll have 5 reports, national reports, which will combine the 3 stages of the research, the empirical study, plus recommendations and conclusions. We'll have a comparative report, a catalog of good practices, and the final conference in February in Bulgaria, where you're more than invited. Let's hope that we'll be able to travel in February and to have this closing event. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you this project and for your interest in this roundtable. Thank you. We'll keep in touch and hope to see you on the other events of our project.
Thank you very much, Ina. It was a pleasure to know more from this end as well. I would like to now introduce Ms. Linda Larsson, who has joined us all the way from Sweden. Linda Larsson is, in fact, the Swedish Trade Union Confederation. She's representing this entity, and she will tell us more about the best practices in her country on implementing the EU Autonomous Framework Agreement on digitalization in Sweden. So thank you, Linda. Thank you for joining us, and on to you.
Thank you so much, and I would like to say thank you so much for the invitation to be able to speak here today. And unfortunately, I was not able to make it to Malta, which would have been lovely. But I hope to see you all in person in autumn instead. So I'm going to try and see now. I'm not able to actually share my screen. I get a small confirmation saying that, so I have a small presentation prepared, but I am also able to speak without the presentation, so maybe I should do that. I just wanted to start off by sharing a bit of our processes that we and what we have been doing so far when it comes to implementing this agreement. And obviously, as social partners, we have taken quite a fair amount of time to go through the agreement, and also to translate it into English. Into Swedish. And this has been quite a long and ongoing process for us, but it's also been very educational for us to transform it, not just in wording, but also into the context of our labor market. So I think that process as such has been a very good process, actually. We have, of course, also been informing our member organizations and doing external activities in this respect. But just to give you a brief background of what is already in place in Sweden when it comes to digitalization issues, but labor market regulation as such, because they are, of course, a part of each other. There are already common structures in place for the social partners in Sweden. On the one hand, we have regulation that we have for several decades now that are tech neutral, and besides the GDPR, we also have an Employment and Co-Determination Act in the workplace, as well as acts and regulations on work environment. And these these acts and regulations are tech neutral. They were designed that way in order for us to create information and co-determination and consultation procedures without not being excluding anything concerning the labor market that we want to regulate or negotiate. So in this respect, this has given us for a very long time now a very, very good starting point when it comes to already be able to negotiate, but also through regulation have information, consultation and co-determination when it comes to these issues. So that for us is a very, very good starting point. And we always have to keep this in mind when we look ahead and think, what do we want to negotiate on next? What is not being taken care of within the frames that we already have, so to say. But we also have other structures and actually partner-owned structures in place. And one of them is Prevent. And this is, of course, a Swedish word or name. But this is a partner-owned, social partner-owned organization that provides information on health and safety. So here, managers in companies, but also health and safety reps can go and search for information and also education and so on about health and safety issues. And here you also have special parts that are trying to target the digital aspects of the working life. And with that, I'm not just saying when you work online, it's also, of course, about when you work with tech and when you have some sort of digital device in your work environment and how that affects you. So, and these structures, there has been a lot of work done already within Prevent. We also have an equivalent in the public sector, which is called Sunt Arbetsliv. And there are quite good, not just informations, but also ways and procedures how to work with health and safety issues regarding digitalization. And these were actually something that we were trying to bring to the table and that we see now it's quite an equivalent to the partnership process, actually. So that was one of the contributions that we as Swedish social partners wanted to bring into the negotiation of the agreement, actually. Yes, so this is the structures that we have already in place, and there is actually also another social partner structure that I want to mention, and it's the AFA insurance. This is actually, we have a social partner joint organization and different kind of insurances for the members and then the people who are covered by collective agreements in Sweden, which is a very fine thing. And within this organization of insurance, they are not only taking care of the negotiated insurances between the social partners. They actually have another part of their obligations that is also to research finance that could contribute and help the social partners and the work environment. So this is actually a very good way for social partners to come together and be able to bring in researchers who do research that actually also helps contributes to understanding the labor market and also helps to help the social partners in their way of keeping track of what's happening on the labor market. So this, I think this is a very good win-win situation where research and social partners also come together. But what I want to mention, why I want to mention this is because we have now different research projects going on that are financed from, of course, then the social partners, that is especially linked to digitalization. And this has been an issue for us, that it has been a priority within the research programs to actually focus on digitalization and the effects of digitalization, especially related to the working environment. And for us as trade unions, it has been important to think, when thinking of how to implement this agreement and what parts of the agreement that matters the most to us, bearing in mind the structures that we have, as I mentioned, and also the labor laws that we have, to be able to think about what do we need to, what could be improved from our side. For us, it has been very important to have an understanding and a mapping, especially on the labor market when it comes to the effects of algorithmic management. And so this has been our method, you could say. We have had, within our organization, we have a working group with our members, where we discuss these issues, and where we also closely follow this one specific project that is linked and that is following up the algorithmic management in the workplace, and also its effect on the work environment for the people working. So what we're trying to do is, through this project, create a sort of a mapping and understanding of the challenges that is posed by algorithmic management. And from that research, we hope that we could then take the further steps by analyzing what is needed. Do we have it within our structures, or do we have to create something new? Do we have to negotiate on certain issues here? And that project is ongoing, and we hope to see the results next year. It's going to be very, very interesting. So this has been a method for us to use the agreement, but also connected to the real challenges that we are facing, but also using research to map our challenges, and from there take steps that hopefully could be then jointly under the umbrella of PREVENT, as I talked to you about before, the partner structure, where we have the information for the social partners on health and safety issues. So that was my small contribution to give you a bit of an insight on how we work as social partners in Sweden. And I'm gonna stop there, and thank you so much for having the opportunity to participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. And now we're going to hear about the best practice in Romania, also to understand what they are doing in terms of the digital transformation and the conversation. So please, Adelina Dabu from Concordia, Romania. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being here for my first time in Malta. I'm glad it's such an exciting topic. It's such a historical building. I think it shows where we are coming from and how far we've reached as a society, and how we are now talking about artificial intelligence in a place that has such strong connections to trade and where economics started long ago. In Romania, I would dare to say we haven't done so much in terms of implementing the framework agreement on digitalization, but as much as our colleagues with the current project that has been presented did, we are also implementing European funded project with about the same timeline, and that's something I'm going to tell you about, because we are truly believing this is are the seeds for the further implementation of the agreement. But to put a bit of a context, in Romania, the social dialogue, it's quite low, I would say, for historical reasons. We are coming from a longer period of communism than a longer period of democracy, so it's still 30 years to 50 years. The transition has been a bit rough. The economic structure has changed a lot from public-owned enterprises towards private, and in the process of getting to have very many companies, and adding to it, now we are also facing this transition that comes with a variety of companies that do not necessarily belong to one sector or another, so there is nothing traditional left there. But we are trying to make steps in these regards, and part of our National Recovery and Resilience Plan, it's also a milestone on changing the social dialogue law. So what we believe we will be doing is to change the terms of reference, so the rules of the game with the new social dialogue law by the end of this year, and further on to be able to talk more about digitalization and further challenges, and as well to improve our capacity. Romania is one of the few countries that have been recognized by the European Union to need a lot of capacity building for social partners to be able to deal with such complex problems. This is the general context. Then, moving. The partnership process you already know about. We've briefly started to talk about the right to disconnect, but nothing very specific has been done in this regard, and some other topics are being tackled with the project. So our project is called Work Transition CEE, Central and Eastern Europe, and that's because the consortium is built on employers and trade unions representatives in Romania, Hungary, and Slovakia, and we are also having as associated partners Business Europe, ETUC, and International Organization of Employers. So the project name is Renew Social Dialogue for the New World of Work, Job Transition and Digitalization in 2 industrial sectors in CE countries. And I've already mentioned the countries. Why industrial sectors and not in general? Because we thought a pilot-based approach tackling those sectors that are more at risk due to digitalization, at risk in a sense of transformation that comes with risks for some of the employees, but could also bring the benefits, and that's something we are exploring. And this sectoral approach would be something that we can benefit and further explore with other sectors as well. So go more in depth with 2 sectors, and then further on extend the outcomes or the lessons learned to other sectors that are relevant. So what we are aiming at the end of the day is to equip the social partners to play a more important role in job transition. This is the main focus, the job transition, and strengthen the European social dialogue through implementing the framework agreement. The period of the project is up to January next year. So we wanted in the first place to raise awareness on opportunities and challenges resulting from digital transformation that are coming also with challenges and opportunities for job transition, and strengthening the social dialogue, the social partners, as we get to make them a lot more aware through our studies and other activities. You will see of what's the actual impact of it. Because everyone talks about it, so it's job transformation, it's a bit of a buzzword, but what does it mean in practice, and what are the practical implications in each of the countries and in each of these sectors? In general, we tend to say 2 million jobs will be lost, another 3 million jobs will be created in Europe. Okay, but then what? Let's get more practical on that. So we want you to understand the risks and opportunities with focus on ICT skills. And I'm going to tell you what are the 2 industrial sectors we have chosen in Romania and why. So we've decided to work on automotive and the oil and gas industry because they are largest contributor to the economy on the one hand, to the GDP. On the other hand, they are very large employers. So if there is any transformation in these two sectors, it's going to have a large impact for the entire economy at all. So we try to understand these risks and challenges and opportunities through doing some research using an MIT-based methodology and map the jobs and the skills associated with it that are part of the transformation, and they're called Jobscape and Skillscape. We also raised a lot more awareness about what the framework agreement is. We tried also to map the trends in the region when it comes to future of jobs, because you have on the one hand the technical transformation, and on the other hand you have all the other trends that are social, more of social-based, social dynamics. You get to see, for instance, people willing to take more jobs that have more meaningful and more progress. You want to have more flexibility, and at the end of the day, what you'll end having in the labor market, it's a mix between the changes in technology and job transformation at work and the social, more of social trends and social implications. We wanted to promote a co-design approach of solutions, not only talking together like we do here now, but also working together on a developing solution, and that's an innovation-based methodology. Maybe some of you know about design thinking or design shop we have used, and it proved very successful. Also design a guidebook for employees and employers and employees on how to manage the transition, because it's not easy, and to be honest, we start to see it. So it's something we were talking about a couple of years ago, something that is going to happen in the future. It's actually now in these two industries happening. And also, of course, make some policy recommendations, because we think we sometimes might know a bit better what's happening at grassroots level than governments do. And just try to find common grounds at national level, to take the policy and recommendation and the outputs from all this work and try to find something that could be an agreement, maybe a sectoral agreement in one of these two sectors, but that's a work in process. So we had national seminars about the agreement. We have issued this Future of Work Trends report that I invite you to look it up on our website, the Work Transition CE website, because it's in English as well. We have the Skillscape and Jobscape analysis, and that's different in each of the three countries, because each has picked different industries that, drawing from the same methodology, but pick different industries depending on the impact that industries have in their own economies. And we will be launching the outputs for Romania next week. Then we are still working on the guidebook and policy recommendations. So yet again, I invite you to look on the trend shaping the future of work in CE. You might find relatable trends for your countries as well. And this is a sample of what we've built with co-design. It's a solution that is called Muncomat, and that's like labor, I'm trying to find a word that would be relatable. It's like a digitalized place, but with a human face, where employees facing loss of jobs due to transition could go, and they can get very digitalized support, but as well they can get some mental health support, some personalized support on how to further develop their career, so on. And that's something that emerged after 1.5 days work of authorities, trade unions, and employers' representatives in a very playful, innovative, and co-designed way that we couldn't have otherwise created. And yeah, this is how it looks in a playful manner, but we'll definitely put it in writing in the policy recommendations as well. This is what we are trying to do with our colleagues in Hungary and Slovakia, to dig a bit deeper into what job transition means in certain sectors. And from what I've seen from the results of the Skillscape and Jobscapes, there are very specific issues to the sectors that are theirs to stay, and they should address them as such. And there are also some other more general features that other sector can use as well. And the methodology will also be available for all other sector of ours to use whenever they need it as well. I think this was useful.
Thank you very much, Adelina. It was very interesting, especially the design thinking to arrive to solutions. It is something that I strongly recommend in any organization, to really bring the people together and develop their own solutions. And you will be quite impressed by what they can actually come forward with. So that is one way to really get them to embark on the digital transformation. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Maria Mincheva, the Vice President of the Bulgarian Industrial Association, who will give us the main trends and preliminary conclusions from the first and second stage research in the partner countries of the Transform Work project. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think I'm the 6th woman to speak in a row this morning in this historical building with many portraits of men. So I wonder how they would have reacted to this. Sorry? Yes. Nothing is... Okay, I will be short ahead of the break that we're expecting to have. First of all, let me thank Malta Chamber and Malta Business Bureau for hosting us and welcoming us in Malta, but also in this very nice historical building. It was said a lot about this project, but what was the idea? Why we have these 7 member states? Because we know that digitalization penetrates with a different speed in different member states across Europe. We also know that social dialogue is developing on a different pace, and there are countries where, like Sweden, for example, they have a very well developed industrial relations where more or less the country has, or the government has no say in what social partners agree. Other countries like our part of Europe, the eastern part of Europe, we come with different traditions, we come with a different scope of and extent of coverage of collective bargaining. We had the change of ownerships of enterprises from state-owned enterprises and economy, plant economy to social market economy, which gives us a different context when we speak about implementation of different agreements of the EU social partners. I don't know how is it in the other countries, but our governments are more or less not aware of what European social dialogue is. So this was a small attempt also by doing national events to invite also the governments, to tell them there is the EU social dialogue, not just the directives, not just the Commission and the member states. So to give them a little bit of information of what we can do, what other countries do. So we put together countries with more advanced penetration of digitalization in different spheres of the economy and life and society, and then less developed countries. So we can also try to learn from each other. In this, where should I point this? In this project. So in fact, Ina mentioned there are more employers' organizations in this project than trade unions. To me, this is perfectly normal, as we know that businesses deliver solutions and innovations, so our interest is quite understandable. What we wanted to do in this project is first to see where we are, all of our countries, what is our starting point. And we wanted to derive 7 national reports describing what are the historical trends, where do we start from, what is the structure of our economies, and then the state of play also of the national framework in terms of different strategies, different laws in place, but also the collective bargaining coverage. Then to see what is the role of the social partners. Are they the key driver for these changes, or are they just following the processes started by the governments? And as I said, we tried to collect a good number of well-developed countries in terms of digitalization. So we wanted to see how they do it. Can we take something from there and just to adapt it to our national circumstances? So based on this desk research, maybe it would be interesting to know the result that despite the differences, there are some common conclusions that could be said about all the 7 countries. All the countries have strategic documents linked to digitalization. However, we see that the implementation and the effect is different in different member states. Some just have adopted large, big documents, putting targets, but then again in 5 years they do the same. They adopt another document and they report to the Commission that they did an excellent job. And we also see that the collective bargaining coverage varies widely, really, between the countries. We see 4% covered in Estonia, which is a very well-developed, in digital terms, country. And then we see 45% covered in Cyprus. Another common thing is that digitalization is more or less a new topic for the social partners when it comes to collective labor agreements. On the other hand, here the state is the leading partner when the governments develop different strategic documents. Of course, social partners are consulted. So this is an area where they work more jointly than on really changing the workplace. There is a lack of capacity identified in some countries to engage and extend the range of issues that are covered by digitalization. And regardless of the penetration of new technologies, the lack of skilled workforce with the necessary digital skills remain a common issue for all the countries covered by our project. Another challenge is the adequate skills forecast. No matter of huge efforts done on any possible level in this respect, we see that there is a slow adaptation of curricular, and there is no good methodology in practice to adequately forecast the skills needed. Also, setting the training needs of the future to keep people employable tends to be a challenge. This, of course, leads us to the risk of digital divide, which I think it's equally assessed as an important risk to be tackled by both sides of industry and employers and employees. Of course, the need to raise the awareness and the necessity to take up digital strategies among the managers and the owners of companies, because there are many companies lacking the strategic planning how to digitalize their business. I'm saying this in the context of 95 plus small, medium, micro enterprises that needs help, clearly, how to do this, because for big companies this is not an issue, but for the majority of companies that are in all of our countries, this clearly is an issue. Of course, COVID accelerated everything. COVID accelerated telework. But COVID also showed us that if there was not already these digital solutions in place, it would be really catastrophic. We had to stop working, we had to stop living overnight, but then due to digitalization, it was possible no matter what the challenges, because there were challenges for both employers and employees, but it made it possible for us to continue our work, including drafting projects, including we started at the very first 2 months of COVID, and if it was not digitalization, it wouldn't be possible to go where we are now, to our first physical meetings, to celebrate meeting people face to face. Then, based on this mapping of where we are, we have decided in the beginning, we have agreed to continue with an online survey. This online survey is based on the 4 chapters of this digitalization agreement, because we find it very complex, because all of us have different types of initiatives on digital skills, on the right to connect and disconnect, but we wanted really to go to the employees, to go to the HR managers, to go to the line managers, to go to the GDPR experts in companies, to see what is happening on a company level and also on the sectoral level, where in many countries the collective bargaining is happening. So to add to what we found out during our desk research, we are now finalizing this. And this will be the basis, of course, to draft our comparative report, which is the aim of the project, one of the deliverables of the project. In the end of the day, we have approximately 200 respondents. We did not aim to have a representative study, but just to go really on the ground on companies that are interested in the topic, and could provide us with practical data based on which we could form our proposals. And I stop here because it was already a lot of set of our project, and I know that after the break we have a very interesting session with a panel. So looking forward to this. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Maria. And now I invite you all for some much-needed coffee, I believe. And we will come together again in 20 minutes for an interactive session with our panel speakers. And we will be looking at the future skills and an analysis that is carried out by the Future Skills Project funded by the HSBC Malta Foundation. And we will also look at AI and applications of AI at the workplace. So this is going to be quite an interesting discussion with our local employers and the like. So thank you very much and see you soon. So thank you. I hope the coffee was a bit more helpful. So now we're going to hear a bit about the forecasting of future skills and human capital by Dr. Rosemary Azzopardi, an economist. And this will be an interesting overview of the local scenario in the case of forecasting what we are going to need as employers as well. So what skills we're going to be looking at, what training perhaps our people will need. So we will move on to this new topic, after which we will have a panel discussion. Thank you.